Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mercedes. Today we are going to do a little bit of a mid-year check-in. We're 6 months into 2026, which is absolutely insane. I'm trying out new backgrounds. So today I thought I would do my kitchen. This is like my kitchen, my living room's over there. I don't know. The older you get, the more time literally just flies by. What's that saying that's like the days are long but the years are short? Literally. I'm seeing a lot of people do the mid-year book tag, and I thought, why not give it a go. This is 10 questions. They're all bookish related. Of course, before we get into all of the questions, I just want to say that today, June 26th, is my first ever book club meeting here on YouTube. Not Another Love Story by Julie Soto is our June book club pick, and that is the book that we will be discussing tonight here on YouTube. The live will be 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You do have to be a part of the Wannabe Book Club tier here on YouTube. I believe it's either going to be, I've seen it a few different ways. It's going to be under the membership tab on my page, or it's gonna say join. You click on that. It's the Wannabe Book Club. I have 2 tiers, the book club. So excited for like our first meet. I feel like our first meet, like actual live, will be like a little bit of an icebreaker, but we will be more familiar with each other. I've been having a lot of fun with the book club so far. I do have a WhatsApp. I'm talking all up in the WhatsApp. WhatsApp though keeps banning me. I don't know what that's about. So far this year, I have read 30 books. I feel like, you know, that's pretty good. I'll be happy if I can just double that by the end of the year, maybe read 60 books in 2026. Then again, I don't ever set a reading goal for myself. I feel like reading goals for me take the fun out of reading. I've never set a reading goal for myself. I want to say last year I read around 100 books. This year I'm not. I don't see myself reading 100 books. I've read books I've loved. I've read books I've hated. I've read books that have surprised me, which, would you believe it or not, these are all questions that are within the mid-year book tag. Without further ado, let's go ahead and read the first question. Best book you've read so far. Are starting out strong. I actually keep a list of the books I've read within a year on my phone, so this is my list. Before you start wagging your finger at me, asking me, Mercedes, why the hell don't you just go on Goodreads? I don't know. I really don't know. I've always just been bad at like updating my Goodreads. I need to do that, but I feel like at this point I've had my book talk account for 3 years now, and I've like maybe committed to updating my Goodreads like for like a month, and that was it. So I think like now I'm like set in my ways. So now I just keep a list of books I have read. It looks like I have 3 5-star reads. So out of the 30 books I've read this year, only given 3 books 5 stars. I really don't give out 5 stars that often. Like I have to like really feel something to give a book 5 stars. That really just makes me so invested, and it just, I am like can't stop turning the page, and I am just in it, and it's like all I can think about when I'm reading it is like my criteria for a 5-star book. So with the first question being the best book you've read so far, I'm just gonna give you my only 3 5-star books I have read this year. The first one being Throne of Nightmares by Carrie Maniscalco. I actually have given every book in this series 5 stars. I love this series so much. It's all interconnected standalones, so each book is following along a different Prince of Sin. This last book, ooh, I don't know. I've tried to rank all 3 books in the series, being like which one's my favorite and which one is like 1, 2, 3, like rank it that way. I can't. I feel like every time I try to do that, I say like a different answer every time, because I was about to say Throne of Nightmares is like maybe my favorite in the series, but I'm pretty sure the last time I was remembering the series, I said Throne of Secrets was my favorite. This last one though, Throne of Nightmares, is definitely for the book girlies, because the main female character is a book girly, and actually she has to survive a lot of these book fantasies, or some of her favorite books she's put in like real dangerous scenarios that happen in the book, and she has to survive them, and she's like the only one who actually recognizes what's going on in the book, so she kind of knows the outcome of everything that's happening. It's actually really fascinating. It is a fantasy romance, but I would say that it leans more into the romance side of it it is in a fantasy world, 100%. I mean, the main male characters are the princes of sin. They are demons. So there is definitely 100% a fantasy aspect to it, but it really leans into the romance. And for some reason, I am eating this series up, and I cannot wait for the other books to come out in the series. Would it be shocking for me to say that I have read all 3 of these books by Carrie Maniscalco, love them? I haven't read her other series. Second 5-star read for this year is Yesteryear. Kind of picked it up on a whim. I saw one recommendation for this book and I was like, okay, bet. I saw Steph Reads a Lot review on TikTok about Yesteryear and how just enthusiastic she was about it. And I love Steph Reads a Lot. Whenever she gets like really worked up about a book, I always intrigues me, and this recommendation just hit me at the right time. I was in between reads. I didn't know what I was going to read next. I picked up Yesteryear and I absolutely loved it. Thing with this book though, I feel like every single person who reads it is going to have a different takeaway from it, because I know people are like fascinated by the thriller aspect of it, but for me, it didn't read like a thriller. I wasn't super heavily invested in the thriller plot. Honestly, at some points I forgot that it was a thriller. I was really invested in being in the main female character's head and the fact that she was trying to be likable, but deep down she was not likable. And I don't even know if it wasn't the fact that she's not likable, it's just that she's living a life of pretend. She's trying to be something that she's not, all in the name of like having influence and having power and money and trying to seem successful. Like she's all about putting on a front. To me, I read that book as if like, what would your life look like if you just lived a life inauthentically and you were just so disconnected from yourself and what you actually wanted from your life, but you were trying to be something that you're not. Like, you see that push and pull in her character. You see her inner monologue and the way she tries to present herself to the world. I just thought that was so fucking fascinating. And then of course you have like the weird snapbacks to reality that, you know, something is weird, there's a thriller plot going on, but like I didn't really care about the thriller plot. You didn't know, Yesteryear is a book about a trad wife influencer. So you see her on the internet and then you see her in real life, and it again was just so fascinating to me. And then the last book that I have on my 5-star list so far for 2026, This Story Could Save Your Life. I listened to this on audio. Highly recommend the audiobook. Honestly, all thriller books that are in podcast form, listen to the audiobook. They just do it so much better on the audiobook. This story is a thriller, and it's a thriller that just keeps giving. Because it's like you think you know what's going on and you're like, what else could happen? And then something else happens and you're like, oh my God. Like, I remember listening to this audiobook and the whole time I'm just like, what? What just happened? It's just so good. Like, it's a story that just kept giving all the way through. I have seen some people say that it's a romantic suspense. Don't go into it thinking it's a romantic suspense. Like, if you were reading this book for the romance, you will be disappointed. It's not a romance at its core, okay? It's a thriller. It's a what the fuck. It's a plot twisty one. There is an essence of a romance, and it does drive the plot, but it's not a romance in the way that we traditionally think romance. The second question is the best sequel you have read so far in 2026. Kind of gonna go into like what I said earlier about The Throne of Nightmares. I'm pretty sure that's the best sequel I've read so far. So I think I just have to circle back to my first answer because I'm looking at my list down here and I'm looking for like any sequels I have read. Yeah, I think that's like the only series I've continued this year, which is actually kind of crazy. I haven't dived super deep into any series this year. I've been reading a lot of thrillers. I'm in my summer-ween era for sure. And I've read like a handful of romance, a handful of fantasy. So I haven't really read any big series yet this year. I don't know. I've been thinking about it though. I've honestly really been thinking about rereading Throne of Glass. I have been craving just that way that series made me feel is what I'm craving. Sometimes the harsh reality of being a reader is like you kind of want to chase a high, and you read a series and it makes you feel so many things, and like you love it and you love all the characters, and you chase that high with like other series and you want to find that feeling again, and it can be hard. I want to read a fantasy series like the way Throne of Glass made me feel, and I think the only way to do that is to read Throne of Glass. Maybe I'll consider another fantasy book. I haven't read Zodiac Academy, but Zodiac Academy, everything I hear about Zodiac Academy, it is not the vibe. It's not the vibe I'm looking for. I don't know. People say it's like trashy reality fantasy. I don't think I want that right now. Question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet, but you want to. It is the second book to, what is it? Shield of Sparrows. What's the second book called? Bride of Starling by Genevieve Perry. Can you believe I have not read the second book in that? I think, to answer question number 2, best sequel, I think if I would have read that, perhaps I could have said that. I don't know, maybe I'll read The Bride of Starling and I'll hate it. That would be upsetting because I gave Shield of Sparrows 5 stars. I have Shield of Sparrows on my list of books I've read this year because I even did a reread for the release of The Bride of Starling, and then whenever it came out, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling fantasy, and I started reading a lot of thriller. The past couple months, I'm telling you, I've been reading a lot of thriller. Thriller books are just so perfect for me in my life right now because they're entertaining, they're engaging. I can pop on an audiobook and I can go about my damn day. With a fantasy book, it is a little bit harder to multitask. Oftentimes, if I'm listening to a fantasy book, I'm also gonna do like a tandem reading experience, and I just haven't really had a lot of time for that. I reread Shield of Sparrows. It was so good, loved it, but whenever the book came out, the vibe shifted. And I'm a mood reader and I gotta follow the vibe. If I don't follow the vibe and I try to fit a puzzle piece where it doesn't belong, nobody's gonna have fun. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. It's actually coming up next month, which is the second book to Nightshade by Autumn Wood. I wanna say it's called Daybreak. Let me double check. Daybreak. Yeah, Daybreak. I am so looking forward to that. I'm going to reread Nightshade and I'm so excited about it. This book had a little bit of everything in it that I love. Like, it was a romance thriller. Give it right here. Serve it up to me. A romance thriller. Thank you. I feel like I don't read too many good romance thrillers. Not only is it a romance thriller, the atmosphere and the vibes of the whole book is kind of eerie. It's definitely very moody. Some would say perhaps a little gothic. Vibes are gloomy. It's misty outside. They're in a castle for school. The lighting is dim. Just, it's the vibe I'm looking for all of the time. And also thrown in there is a sports aspect, rugby. Yeah. So the main female character in this book is being stalked. A trail of evidence that is just like some fucked up shit like is coming for you, and like you should be scared, and like she is scared. And the main male character, Alex, he would come off as an asshole, but he's not. I ate that book up. It was just so good. I can't wait to reread it. I can't wait to read Daybreak, and it comes out next month, July. I want to say towards the end of the month. I almost forgot that the next ACOTAR book is coming out this year. Can I tell you, I'm scared. Can you hold my hand? Hold my hand. When I tell you, I'm scared. I'm actually scared. Not for the book itself, but like for the fandom, okay? I am a little bit scared of the fandom. You girlies freak me out a little bit. And here's something that I was thinking about the other day when it comes to the next book that's being released. Everyone so desperately wants it to be about Azriel, okay? But this is something I was thinking about, right? So you have the first 3 books, which is like the core of the story, which is Farah. And then you have the novella, you can throw it in the trash, who cares? And then you have the next book, Court of Silver Flames, which is Nesta. So you have Farah and Nesta, who are the main female characters in those books. And then there is a third sister There's a third sister. So I think logically the next book has to be Elaine's book, and whoever her mate is, I don't think is going to be Asriel. And that's what makes me scared, because I never in my whole damn life have seen a fandom so die hard about a relationship that does not exist yet. Why do I feel like there's gonna be a damn civil war when that book comes out and whoever doesn't get their way? One, imagine it's not about Asriel. That would be crazy. Two, imagine if it's like some weird ass, funk ass Tanglen redemption arc. The possibilities are endless, and I feel like I'm gonna go offline just to like read that book and enjoy it. That comes out in October, I believe. Yeah, I would say those two books I'm definitely highly anticipating and very excited about. Number 5, biggest disappointment. Ooh, let me pull up my list. I have one book on here that I gave 2 stars. My lowest star rating out of like any books I've given this year. I've actually been having a pretty decent reading year this year. Last year was so mid. I'm having a better reading year this year. So I've given a lot of books 4 stars, 3 stars, and then I have 1 2-star book. Can you believe it? This kind of ties into what I was saying earlier, that I have not really read a lot of good romantic suspense, romantic thrillers, and I feel like that is a genre that is really hard to get right. Most of the time it's like you have too much of one of the genres and it's not really a romantic suspense. And I will say what you will about Colleen Hoover, Verity really sets the precedence for a good romantic suspense. When I say romantic suspense, Verity is at the top of that list. It was just so good. It was a perfect balance of romance and what the fuck. And that is, to me, something that is hard to get right. Soul Searching is, in my opinion, evidence of it not done really well. It was too much romance and not enough thriller. But even then, okay, let's read it like a romance. The romance, ew, I did like it. I hate instant lust. Hate it. Get it away from me. Ew, gross. What do you mean? You just met this man. You moved to a new town. You're in a new town. You don't know nobody. You met this new man and you're living with him. You're living with him and fucking him and loving him within like 2 days. I also would have loved like a treasure hunt or something. Like more thriller. Give me more thriller. I don't care about your relationship. I actually despise it. Get out my face. The thriller perhaps could have redeemed that book, but there was no thriller. So 2 stars it is. Number 6, biggest surprise. Ooh, I'm gonna say actually Daggermouth, because I was almost convinced I wasn't going to like it, but I read it because FOMO. Easily influenced. This was the first book that I read postpartum, like when I had Willow. It did take me the whole month of March to read it. I have 1 book I read in March. It was just Daggermouth because I was that tired, which is kind of crazy because I did actually really enjoy the book. Like from the beginning of the book, I knew that it was going to be something that like was right up my alley. It did lose just perhaps a little bit of stamina towards the end. Like the end did seem like a little bit of a clusterfuck, but like kind of in the best way. I gave it 4.5 stars. I typically don't love dystopian. When I was younger, I did read Hunger Games. Of course I love that. Who doesn't love Hunger Games? But I didn't like Divergent because I'm not the biggest fan of dystopian. But this is dystopian and I actually really enjoyed it. And I don't know when the second book is coming out. If it's coming out sometime this year, add that to my list of things I'm highly anticipating. Oh my God, I think Willow just woke up. I was gonna film this during her nap time. It was a book that was super hyped up on Book Talk, and that's a hit or miss for me. Believe it or not. Like I have read books that are hyped up on Book Talk. I'll read it every time. If it's getting a lot of traction, I want to be a part of that bandwagon. But there have been quite a few Book Talk books that I didn't like. So I thought maybe Daggermouth might fall into that category. Nope, girl, I loved it. I have 4 questions left, but Willow is awake and I am a mother before I am anything else. So let me know just hopefully get her back to sleep. If not, no, I'll catch you later. It won't matter to you because it'll literally be the next clip. Jump scare, it's me, the one editing this video. There's a clip missing. I don't know where it went, can't find it nowhere, but the question is, what is the most beautiful book I have bought this year? It is Alchemized by Sin Lin Yu. Now this is, if you can tell right here, the sticker down here says that it is the Barnes & Noble exclusive. Makes this the most beautiful book I have bought all year. Is not only is this cover stunning, now remember, book buying and book reading, two separate hobbies, okay? This is a stunning cover, but the Barnes & Noble exclusive has the most gorgeous, stunning sprayed edges. When I say sprayed edge, this is what I mean. I don't mean it looks like you took the book outside and sprayed painted the edges, okay? I mean this. This is art. And I saw this after I had already bought and DNF'd Alchemized. I have the normal standard edition, and I went to Barnes & Noble and I saw this on the shelves and I was like, oh my God, that is gorgeous. And then I entered this war within myself because I was like, but you hated that fucking book. You hated that book, you DNF'd that book. You got a lot of hate because you hated that book. You don't want another edition of that book on your bookshelves. And I kept going back to Barnes & Noble and I kept seeing it. Every time I saw it, I was like, oh, that is just a beautiful book. And then I went back and this was the only one that was left. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy it. And I did, and I bought it. And now it sits on the shelves in my living room with all of like my good sprayed edges out, like all my fancy sprayed edges. It sits on that bookshelf and it is gorgeous and I have no regrets and I'm happy I bought it because I love it. And maybe one day I'll circle back to actually finishing this book because again, I'm a bitch who loves to be on a bandwagon. Like, I do want to be a part of the conversation. Not that I have a problem with like not liking a book and hating a book, but like when it seems like everyone else like deeply resonated with the book and they thought it was like so good, and I'm just like, how could you think that? What's wrong with me? Why don't I think that? Something, my brain must be broken. Who knows? Maybe, like I said, right book, wrong time. And maybe I can circle back to it eventually at some point. But this is the most beautiful book I have bought this year. And number 8, what book has made you happy? All of them. Ooh, I love reading. And I was really happy to have this year, super excited about, I'll actually say Her First Lie by Lucinda Berry. This is a prequel. So now this universe is complete. Everyone bow down to our queen, Lucinda Berry. Thank you. So now you have the prequel, the main book, the main meat, potatoes, and then you have like the after story. What is that? What prequel, main story? It's not a sequel because it's like the final conclusion. Will is awake again. The prequel, which is Her First Lie, the main story, The Perfect Child, and then you have like a follow-up novella that is like in the future, which is The Welcome Reunion. All part of the same world. You get the beginning, you get the story, and you get the final conclusion. Love that. Thank you, Lucinda Berry. Really happy to get the prequel. I will say that my favorite in this universe is still the main meat, potatoes, The Perfect Child. And you do have to read The Perfect Child first. I don't think you can read Her First Lie as a standalone and understand what makes that book so crazy. You have to have the knowledge of why Jamie, like why do we want to know about Jamie? Why do we want to know where Jamie has come from and all of her fucked up background origin story? Why do we want to know that? You have to know her first, in my opinion, before you read her backstory. If there's ever a question of like what order to read books in, to always just go to default read and publication order. In my eyes, that is the way that the author intended to tell the story because it's the way they gave it to us. A Perfect Child, The Welcome Reunion, and then Her First Lie. I read it that way and I don't have a single problem with it. I still love it. Yes, I do. Okay, I think I'm on the final question, which is what book do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them. It's hard for me to say because I am a mood reader and I have to follow the vibe. I hope by the end of this year I can circle back to The Rite of Starling. I do want to read that. All of my anticipated reads, yeah, I want to read that. I kinda, like I said earlier, I've been thinking about rereading Throne of Glass. I don't feel like I need to do an ACOTAR reread because I actually did that whenever the last Crescent City book came out, and doing a reread of that series, I feel like it is now ingrained into my brain. Like, I know I could do a trivia of that book and ace it, I feel like. So I don't think I need to do an ACOTAR reread, but I do want to do a Throne of Glass one. Would never do a Crescent City reread. That is not even in the question. I'm sure I will continue into my Summerween vibe and read a lot more thrillers, which please give me any of your best thriller horror book recommendations. I want them all. Girl, I don't know. I feel like there's books I'm forgetting about in this moment. Limited brain capacity. So right. We have come to the end of the questions. This is the end of the mid-year book tag. I think next week's video, I'm going to go over all 30 books that I have read this year. Like, that will be like the real mid-year check-in, doing a review of all the 30 books I've read this year. So keep an eye out for that. This was fun. I love hanging out with you. You're the best. That is all that I have for you guys today. Until next time. Okay, bye. I love you.